You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, then why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show. I am your host, Michael Vyers, and today I'm being joined by Josh Stifter. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Josh Stifter is an independent filmmaker, animator, writer, and founder of Flush Studios. Josh has been making DIY films for years that feature an assortment of strange characters and creative chaos. Josh became much more well-known after appearing on Robert Rodriguez's television series Rebel Without a Crew. He's also worked as an animator for Kevin Smith's Smodco. He's a man of many talents, and we're happy to have him on the show. He's also an avid Simpsons and professional wrestling fan, like myself. How you doing, Josh?
I am doing great.
So, we had a whole conversation before I even got a chance to introduce you about your love for professional wrestling and how professional wrestling and its storytelling brought you into the world of filmmaking. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a lot of like most people, movies. I found the few movies I liked. I watched them on repeat, made me want to make movies, and stole my dad's video camera, and that's kind of the excuse for getting into it. But wrestling was a big part of the story of storytelling and the live event of it all, that kind of chaos and unexpected storytelling, consistently surprising the audience. That really got me. And that's kind of what I've still tried to do. I like to surprise people. I hope that people are surprised when they watch my stuff. And I like to surprise myself.
So, there's a lot that I can dissect here because you were making films well before you were on Rebel Without a Crew.
Yes.
Let's focus on that a little bit. I'll be completely honest. How this entire episode came to be, I'm gonna give everyone a little inside baseball. I found you on Threads. I don't even following you. I don't remember even how I came across your stuff, but you had posted that you just looking to get on some podcasts and promote your stuff, and I, as someone who has to find a new guest twice a week, loves when people are looking for a place to come on and talk. So I reached out to you, and I intentionally wanted to not delve too deep because I wanted to kind of figure out who you were real time. So I admittedly have not seen any of your work yet, nor have I seen your appearance on Rebel Without a Crew. So let's talk a little bit about how Rebel Without a Crew came to be.
Yeah. So I started making films when I was a kid, just like, all suburban white boys. I just got out there, stole my dad's camera, filmed with ketchup and whatever and made
Same.
crappy rip-offs of everything.
Mhm.
And then I learned quickly, or I realized quickly, that this was pre like easy computer editing. It was really challenging to edit anything. I was editing like on the classic 2 tapes,
Oh,
or I
you were
had
doing
like
crash editing.
yeah, or I had right when I was probably like 12 or 13, I bought a 3 CCD crappy camera that like had a firewire cable that I could connect. And if you played the video back, it would digitize it onto your computer, but you had to play the whole or whatever you wanted to have digital, you had to play back. So I'd sit and I'd play this clip, go through, find another clip and play it. And this is like in the time where footage, it wasn't, you didn't have memory like you do now. Even now it's getting difficult again, but like it was challenging. And so I learned very quickly that animation was something I could do by myself, do it easier. And there were schools for it that weren't as tough to there was a set path for animation versus filmmaking. It's like you go to film school,
Yeah.
but there's no guarantee you're going to do anything. Most kids
That's
drop
true.
out of film school statistically. So I just instantly was just like, okay, I'm not going to make it. I'm from Minnesota. I'm a Midwest kid. I had gone to school thinking I was going to be a pastor and dropped out of that. And there was a whole thing
Hmm.
there. So I was already behind where everyone else was at in filmmaking. And so I just sort of went like, okay, I'm going to go to school for animation. So at 19, I went to school for animation, got a job as an animator with Kevin Smith. That got me a full-time job. And then I was like, I want to have a mortgage and a wife and kids. And this was at when I was like 23 years old. So I decided at 23 to like pursue that while still working for Kevin Smith, still doing some other stuff. And I just started working on short films on the side, doing the digital stuff. And I did enough stuff for fun that when I reached out to, Robert Rodriguez posted and was looking for short films. He was doing this thing called the People's Network for his El Rey Network channel.
Man, those early days of El Rey were so fucking cool.
Yeah, dude. So that's where I started. I threw a short film I did called Other Fish. That was the last performance from Michael Parks. So long story short, from Tusk, I worked on Tusk with Kevin, and I got hooked up with Michael Parks' assistant, who's named Josh Roush, and Josh and I did this animation together. And I was like, well, Robert should see the last thing Michael Parks did because he had Michael Parks in a bunch of his movies and stuff. And then I was just like, he's in Kill Bill. He plays like 2 characters in
Yeah, I
in Kill
know.
Bill movies. Yeah. So I was like, dude, you got to see this Michael Parks performance. So I sent it to him, and Robert responded and was like, Other Fish it's cool, but I can't do anything with this. This is some artsy fartsy stuff. But you made this cartoon called Tim the Terrible that I saw. Can I buy that from you? So then they flew me out to LA to be on the People's Network showcase. And so I did that. And while I was there, there was the producer of that show. His name is Ryan Crow. He was like, "Hey man, is it possible to do an animated film in 14 days with $7,000?" And I was like, no. I'm like, this 3-minute short that I sold you guys took me like 6 months. Animation is incredibly difficult. He's like, well, do you do live action stuff too? Is it possible to do a $7,000 movie in 14 days? Or would you be able to do that like Robert did El Mariachi? And I pulled out, I literally had in my backpack Rebel Without a Crew, the book, because that's my Bible. Like the way
It's
grandma would read
incredible
Psalms
book.
before bed, like
Yeah.
that's me with Rebel Without a Crew. I've got like 4 copies of them. They're all falling apart and tattered. So much so that when I brought my copy of it, when I went on Rebel Without a Crew, I brought my copy and everyone was like, you should have Robert Rodriguez sign it. And I was like, no, this is mine. I read it. It's like I can't have him autograph it or it's worthless to me. I can't read it anymore. Not thinking like, you have 2 more at home, bro.
Yeah.
Like, so one of my big regrets is I didn't have him sign my copy of that just because it would be a cool like
Yeah.
mantelpiece. But it also was weird at the time because it's like Robert and I were friends. We were talking daily, like hanging out. So I'm like, it's like asking a buddy to sign your book.
Yeah.
But and that's how I got on the show. I was just like, yeah, man, I think I could do it. They were like, okay, do you have a script? Can you send it? And I'm like, hell yeah, I got one at home. That was a lie. I did not have one at home. I had no
that
script.
is the that is the lie that every filmmaker should be telling.
Yeah, I
If
do.
you
I
have do you have a
totally
script? Yes.
Yep, I did. I literally did the lie, and I called up my buddy Daniel, and I was like, "Dude, we got to write a script." They gave me 2 weeks, and he's like, "Okay, let's do it." And I was just like, "I know I want you to star in it because we could. I knew I could bring my plus one if I got on the show because that's Robert had his buddy on there. So I was like, I want you to come with me. We'll go on a dad. We both were new dads, and I was like, we could go on a dad vacation for a couple months, make a movie together. I'm like, do you want to be a priest or a clown? Because I was like, I don't want to have to worry about consistency in costume. Like I knew that would be an issue when we were running and gunning. So I'm like, either every day you got to get in a priest costume or every day you got to get in clown makeup. And he was like, I don't want to put on clown makeup every day. So he became a priest, and that became The Good Exorcist, which is the movie I made with Rebel Without a Crew.
It's wild just just hearing these stories. So not only are you friendly with two of my like filmmaking idols who are both like grail guests on like this podcast. So like that's just exciting in itself. But it's also interesting just looking at your resume, how aware of you I've been without being aware of who you were. So when you were working for Smodco, I was very deeply entrenched in Kevin Smith's stuff at the time, like his podcast network. So I know I've seen your animation.
Sweet.
You worked on Shakespeare's Shitstorm. I was an editor for Troma for 5 years.
Nice, dude. I've done a ton of stuff. Lloyd's in my new movie. I'm working on
Yeah.
a new feature called Get That Dick. And I reached out to Lloyd and was like, hey, man, will you do a cameo? So he plays like in Atlanta. I mean, a lot of places have these, but Atlanta is like one of the worst I've seen. There constantly are commercials where it's like, have you been injured in a car accident? But they're all like ridiculously over the top.
Oh yeah, we
Like,
got those here in Wisconsin.
dude, they're crazy here. Like, they're literally like, are you in a hit and run, or were you in a hit and run? Were you the one who hit and run? You're going to be okay. Contact Boyd and Stevens to get whatever it is. So Gary Martin and Hayes is the big one here. And so I have Lloyd doing that. Lloyd and Kaufman.
Oh, that's all. Lloyd's such a good dude. So fun little tangent people on the show might have heard, but you haven't heard it yet. So like I said, I've known Lloyd for a long time. I met him directly out of college. I met him at the Cannes Film Festival. The film I made in college played at the Cannes Film Festival.
Hell yeah.
And I met Lloyd there. And I just hung out with him, and that was back when he was shooting Occupy Cannes, which I think is finally going to be getting a release. And I hung out there with him quite a bit. That's where I met Liam Regan of Refuse Films.
Yeah. I know him.
I met Doug Sackman before he passed away, Zach Amico. I met all those guys. And I was just hanging out with him quite a bit. And when we got back to the States, Lloyd told me to get in contact with him, so I did. He was coming down, and he said, "Oh, you should do some work for me." So he told me to email him, and I emailed Troma, and I asked to try to be an editor, and they're like, "We don't work with editors who are not in New York." I was like, "That's fair. That's fair. I get that." Lloyd was coming down for a screening of Return to Nukem High Volume 1, and he was in Chicago. So I came and got lunch with him. He bought me lunch. And we talked about like Fellini for like 20 minutes. Like, oh, I love this. And then he put his arm around me. He's like, Michael, why aren't you editing for me? I was like, I tried. Your dudes told me no. They're like, fuck that. Send me an email. And I sent him an email, and then it was such an inefficient way to work. They would just send me I'd have to ship them a hard drive, and then they would ship it back with footage.
That's how I did Little Lucha and the Big Deal with my editor, Jeremy. I shipped him the hard drive because I was just like, I don't know how else to get it to him.
Yeah, and like I wasn't being paid for any of it, but I got to, cut footage with like interviews of Richard Stanley and Simon Boswell and all this cool stuff that was on their YouTube. And hell, I think one of the videos I edited wound up on one of their discs, which is super cool. So it's like, Lloyd has been a good dude, and I've known him for a long time, and I was getting married back in 2016, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to invite Lloyd, see what happens. And he RSVPs yes originally. I was like, fuck yeah, Lloyd Kaufman's going to go to my wedding. And then he sends me an email. It was like maybe like a month later. It's like, sorry, I just accepted a gig in Brazil. I cannot come. What is your address? And then he just sends me a box full of things like posters, everything signed.
I
He
love
sent
it.
me an original animation still from Toxic Crusaders.
Dope.
And I was like, I guess
That's
this is Lloyd's
awesome.
wedding gift to me.
That's amazing. Yeah, they Troma released my movie The Good Exorcist after I finished it with Robert. I got the rights back and Lloyd was like, "Hey, what are you doing with the movie?" And I was just like, "I don't know. Probably just I don't even know. Put it up on Amazon and do the normal
Yeah.
whatever." And he's like, "Well, if you're interested, I'll put it out on Blu-ray. You won't have to pay for anything. We'll figure out some deal, whatever the percentage is." And I was like, I'm never gonna make Blu-rays of it. I'm never gonna. So it's out on Troma now. He did Blu-rays of it and sent me like 100 copies.
Well,
And I was just like, wow, that's a free 100 copies of my movie on Blu-ray that I've been selling at like I sold most of them out at Comic Cons and I sold them with some comics and stuff. And then I just kind of held on to the last copies of them for myself.
I'm on MVD Shop right now looking for a copy of it.
Hell yeah.
Are you still in contact with anyone from Rebel Without a Crew or from your times at Smodcast, or are you just kind of off doing your own thing now?
No, I just made that short film, Little Lucha and the Big Deal. It's available now on the Flush Studios YouTube channel. I made that with Scarlett Moreno, who is one of the other filmmakers. We talk every day. I mean, we talk all the time. We're still close friends. One of the other filmmakers, BK, I still talk to her. I talk to the producers of the show. Every once in a while, Robert and I will chat and reach out, or if I'm in Austin, it just, and all the filmmakers are kind of that way. We're sort of able to reach out to them whenever. And, it's kind of like it's kind of a weird little film family of the people who are on Rebel Without a Crew. So it's really cool. And then, I still reach out. I talk to other, um, like I said, Lloyd is in my new movie. I talk to
Hmm.
all these people as often as I can.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Every time I do talk to Lloyd, which one, he always wishes me a happy birthday, which I always love. And he tells me anytime I'm in New York to reach out to him. So he's a good
That's
dude.
amazing.
So I have a question I need to ask, and I can cut this out, but something I'm legitimately curious, and you know Robert Rodriguez personally, so I need to ask: does he ever take that hat off?
He does. Robert, it's funny because I wore this. I wonder if I have it. I do have it in here. You can't see it. It's right up here. There's a hamburger hat. And the long story short of that was I wore a hat because I'm a dude in Texas, like, because that's where we were filming Rebel Without a Crew. I'm like, I need a hat because there's no way I'm just gonna be sweating all day.
Yeah.
And so I got this. I had this hat, but it was a brand from Minneapolis called Soda. And so anyway, they were like, you can't wear that hat because it has a patch on it. So I took the patch off and I'm like, yeah, but now it looks stupid. This is dumb. It's just a blank hat. So then a PA ran out and got a whole bunch of patches. And he's like, I've got this one with mountains. I've got this one with it's like a sloth or whatever. And I got this hamburger. And I was like, I'm craving a hamburger right now. I'll take that one. And I put it on the hat. And I got into like the third day of filming wearing that hat. And Robert was like, dude, the burger hat. And I was like, yeah, so what? He's like, everyone's gonna know you. Like, they know me as the cowboy hat guy, and now I can't take it off. He's like, I have to wear it everywhere I go. It sucks. And you're gonna be the burger hat guy now. Everywhere you go, you're gonna have to keep that on. And I was like, ah, crap, I am. And turns out I didn't. I took it off. I didn't. At a certain point, I was just like, I still have it though. It's still there.
Me and
But it was
some,
funny. Obviously, he was kind of joking, but at the
but
same
yeah,
time, he kind of wasn't. Where it is like you get known for it's like, Kevin Smith wore the trench coat and the jorts, and then that became the hockey jerseys. And once you kind of take on your persona as a director, you have to own it to a certain extent.
yeah. No, me and friends would often try to make bets. I'm like, do you think Robert Rodriguez has hair? And then because we
Oh,
never saw him without
that's the
the
funny
hat.
thing. He's got great hair. The dude
I
has
bet he
great
does.
hair,
He
and
he always did. So yeah, I was mostly curious. It's out of a joke, but it's like not since the '90s have I seen him without that hat. So
he wears it a lot. He wore it quite often. Sometimes he'd rock the bandana.
classic.
I'm trying to think when he came. Look, he came to my set the one time he wasn't wearing the hat. I can't remember. I think he was wearing just a Rebel Without a Crew hat, actually. But he is a funny dude. Robert and I we'd get in trouble for talking about really nerdy stuff. We'd always get yelled at. We'd be on set in between because, it's still a reality show that was filming us. So it's like setting up cameras, getting ready to go. You'd be like, they'd want to get a shot where it's like us walking like badasses into a room. That never happens naturally. If you watch Rebel Without a Crew, which is available on YouTube now for free on the El Rey Network channel, I highly recommend it. The
Oh
show's
yeah,
so
I
fun.
have it favorited to watch probably this week.
Dude, you should. It's so fun. And it's very stressful as filmmaking is anytime. And there was still a reality show element to it, but I can tell you that the most stressful stuff was not because of the reality show. Like all of the drama you see is essentially real in its own way, even if it's edited in a way that's kind of a mishmash of concepts. My favorite moment is when it goes from all of us partying to Scarlett waking up the next day like sick as a dog. And it looks like she got super drunk, but it was actually like 3 days later. And she was just like actually sick. She hates it. She's like, they made me look like I'm an alcoholic. And I'm like, well. Um, but but yeah, we would get in trouble for like they had these drones set up that had Sony A6300s on them,
Hmm.
and that's what I had been shooting my movie. My second movie is called Greywood's Plot, and I had started filming that before we went on the show on and then stopped, and there's a whole story to that I won't get into, but I saw the camera. I'm like, man, they got a drone running with an A6300 probably to use that autofocus. And Robert's like the autofocus, and we were nerding out, and all of and his assistant, I guess I wouldn't really call it. Her name is Cece. You'll see her on the show. Cece was like, boys, nerds, we're trying to look like badasses here, and you're talking like, come on, let's go. So when you see the shot I think it's the last episode of us, we're like walking out of this airport hangar, and we all look like badasses, and I'm hanging my head like I look embarrassed. That's right after Cece had yelled at us. That's why. I look like I'm just being cool and just like, yeah,
No,
look
you
at
just
me
got
walking.
scolded
But the
by you just
reality
got
is I'm
scolded
like,
by teacher.
Cece yelled at me.
No, that's fantastic. And I feel like easily me and you could, because I'm a filmmaker myself, and I feel like easily me and you could just sit here for a whole 2 hours just swapping stories. But before we move on to the film itself, I just wanted to, since I'm big on whenever I get a filmmaker here to talk about films with me, if there's any piece of practical advice that you could give other filmmakers out there that other people might not suggest. For example, one of the biggest pieces of advice I give to someone who's about to make their first anything, feature, short, whatever, always have a second pair of socks. Because changing your socks midday after a long day is the best feeling. So,
That's funny because I don't wear socks on
hmm,
set, but I get in trouble for it on actual productions. That's a Rebel Without a Crew story. I got because I don't wear shoes ever if I don't have to. Like I will if I go into a job or if I'm on a
I feel
production
that.
set
I
or
feel that myself.
whatever. But I am like I'm not wearing socks right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I am completely sockless in jeans. I just don't if I don't have to. And so I wear sandals on set of my own movies. If I am on set, I am wearing sandals unless the movie calls. Like in Greywood's Plot, you'll see I'm wearing boots the whole time, which was almost like a running gag because it's like, why is he in boots? That dude never wears boots. He's always barefoot. Um, but I one time went on set of The Good Exorcist barefoot, and everyone was like, "What are you can't do that." And I'm like, "Yes, I can. It's my movie. I can do whatever I want." They're like, "No, but the reality show, we're union. You can't be on set, and the director of the show is coming. You are about to be in so much trouble." So then I sent luckily my set that I chose was very close to this is like one of my big advice to anyone making movies. Make sure that the locations you're filming, always pick locations that are accessible. Like if you're making low budget stuff, do not spend an incredible amount of money on locations that you're only going to have for one day. You're not going to be able to go do pickups there. You're going to it's not going to be close to your to where you're located. So
Hmm.
I picked a ranch that was like right. You'll see it on the show when you watch that where we have to pick certain locations. And I picked this ranch just because I knew it was close to the house that we were filming at or that we were, staying at for the show. And I'm like, that way I don't have to go far. I can have a base camp. That's my other thing. Write your movie as like one location so you guys have a base camp so that you feel at home. You write a whole bunch of locations and it's like you're just constantly trying to figure out your location's a character. And if you can't play with that character, ooh, it's gonna be miserable. So I ended up sending his name's Avery Merrifield. He plays Stanley in The Good Exorcist. I was like, Avery, go get my socks and my shoes from the house. I left them there. So he ran home and got socks and he came back with fucking rainbow socks. So there are some days where you'll see, there's like a couple clips where you'll see me in the show wearing these like bright rainbow socks with shorts, and you're like, "What is that look?" And it's because those are the socks Avery picked for me.
And honestly, just the advice of keeping to one location is just more testament that you've clearly read Rebel Without a Crew, because that was
Yeah,
always one of
well, that's what
Robert's.
I did.
Yeah, that was one of Robert's pieces of advice is, why write a big sci-fi epic with a spaceship if you don't have that? But if your dad owns a liquor store, write a movie about a liquor store.
Yeah, I did that. And that's how Greywood's plot came to be. It's all on locations that I had. It was like my house, a cabin in the woods that was my wife's cousin's, just all of these spots that I had. And I've done that for pretty much everything. The first movie we didn't do that on that was bigger was Little Lucha and the Big Deal. And we rented this cafe, like a 50s style cafe.
Hmm.
And it was awesome, but it was just like the first couple days were kind of awkward figuring out the vibe and trying to like know what we could get away with in there. And then the owner was like wanting to watch, obviously. So trying to figure out, is it cool if we do the stuff we want to do in here? And yeah, it was just and then we rented out a wrestling ring as well, which was also awkward trying to figure out how to make that, like how to turn out lights, how to do certain things that weren't working that we needed to happen. But it ended up being really awesome, and I got to get in the ring with a hardcore wrestler. His name's Ricky Norin, and he is amazing, and it's so sweet, and taught me well. He taught me how to get my ass thrown around and not break anything, but I definitely got tossed and pulled and thrown. So, it's I learned fast that a wrestling ring is not a trampoline. It is a hard mat,
Yeah, and then the
it's
ropes aren't ropes; they're wires wrapped in tape.
and jumping off of them, you see these guys stand on them and like, throw their arms up and like they're on the turnbuckle and whatever. And you're like, okay, fine, whatever. Try doing that. Try to do that. It is not that easy. I had to like get up on the ropes to jump off at one point, and I'm like, these are not sturdy. Like it is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you get an incredible respect getting in the ring for even a few hours to learn. And um yeah, yeah, if you watch Little Lucha and the Big Deal, you'll see I rented locations and it was definitely a challenge. And I felt the same on my new movie Get That Dick. I purposely wrote it for a ton of locations because I wanted to do the opposite. I've been like, I learned how to do this. This is the advice I give to people who are making their first movies. I'm 40 shorts and 3 features in. I want to take the opportunity to try something and do something at a ton of locations. Oh my god, it was so hard. It was so hard. Just like getting to a location and then all of a sudden the owner is like, "I didn't say you could film here." And you're like, "Yes, you did. We have a contract." They're like, "No, we said you could film upstairs, not on the second floor. You have the first floor and the third floor, not the second." You're like, "There's no one on this. What? What are we talking about?" And yeah, that literally happened. That's an actual story.
Yeah. If filmmaking's hard enough, don't no need to make it more difficult on yourself.
Right. That's what we kept telling the reality crew. We kept saying, like, because they were trying to give us like rules, and you'll see early in the show, there are all these rules. Like, you can only use this many cast, you can only do this. And then eventually we were just like, hey guys, if you keep doing this, none of us are finishing a movie. And they were just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's let them go, and
Yeah,
we'll get the
especially because like
actual
that's the
drama of
spirit
filmmaking.
of Robert's original film. It's just yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's 5 filmmakers with we had the reality crew from uh The Bachelor. Like we had like a real reality crew. So they were definitely trying to push us at times,
Yeah.
but they were great.
Yeah.
Like my producer was a producer on 90 Day Fiance. He still is a producer on 90 Day Fiance. He's the sweet, and he plays my brother in Greywood's plot. Um,
That's
so if
amazing.
if you see that dude who plays my brother is also my was my producer on The Good
I just
Exorcist.
love too that you meet someone and then you throw them in one of your projects. That's amazing.
I do. It's the way I roll. I'm just like, you guys want to be his? He's still mad at me. His name's Aaron McKenna. I call him Hogmaster. But he because he did a reality show about hunting boars. And so we started calling him the Hogmaster General, and that just became Hogmaster as his nickname. And so but his dream was to be killed by shot by a shotgun in a movie, and I still never have done that. So I'm like, I got to write something that I can get Hogmaster out and eviscerate him with a shotgun.
Awesome. All right. Speaking of eviscerating people with a shotgun, I figured now we can move on to the topic at hand. So on today's episode, we will be discussing Matt Johnson's DIY first feature, The Dirties. Now, normally on this show, the concept of this podcast is that generally I like to cover films that either myself or the guest haven't seen. This is one of the rare times where we're covering a film that both of us have seen and both of us adore, but I feel like most of you listening probably haven't. So I'm breaking the shame list rule a little bit and saying it's probably on your shame list. Matt and Owen are 2 movie-obsessed high schoolers who spend all their time not only watching movies, but making them as well. Their latest epic, The Dirties, is a comedic twist on their own bullying, where the 2 leads get revenge on the kids making fun of them. Matt and Owen are being bullied quite a bit throughout this film, and while Owen views this project as a fun way to pass the time with his best friend, Matt begins to take it a lot more personally. While The Dirties is Johnson's first feature, it's not his first time directing, as he had made the popular web series Nirvana, the Band, the Show, which would spawn an official series through Vice, and a feature film that came out last year. The Dirties was made on a budget of $10,000, plus an additional $45,000 to secure rights for all the music and posters used throughout the film, and the money came out of pocket for the filmmakers. The Dirties did not have an official script, and much of the film was improv. While they claim they did get permission from a school to shoot, the students were never made aware of what the film's plot was, and it's been said that the cast members posed as real students to keep it feeling real. The Dirties received a lot of love from critics such as Screen Crush and the New York Times, and was distributed originally through Kevin Smith's Movie Club. The Dirties stars Matt Johnson, Owen Williams, Krista Madison, Brandon Wickens, and Jay McCarroll as Mr. Bird. The film was shot by Jared Rabb, with music by Jay McCarroll. The film was edited and written by Matt Johnson and Evan Morgan. From 2013, directed by Matt Johnson, this is The Dirties.
Can you hear me? 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 Sorry. We're making a movie. Okay, action. You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in France?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
No, you idiot. I should be doing this whole thing as Bane.
They call it Royale and cheese.
Our movie is about 2 students in a school who get bullied by this gang called the Dirties, and so they decide to take revenge on them. They snipe them from a long way away.
Get dirty with the green bandana. Let's blow his dick off.
Are you fucking kidding me? Guys, just watch the piece, okay?
And then there's a scene where the Dirties are doing cocaine, and we jump in with guns, and we're like, die, cocksucker motherfucker.
You guys gotta make some changes.
What did Muldoon say? You can't make a school shooting movie? If we made a movie where we went with real guns and actually killed only the bad guys.
Yeah, that's what we did in our movie.
But if we actually did it, just blew them away. Get up!
I'm sorry.
You know, Larry, we're coming to school with guns to kill you.
You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. What are those?
The blueprints at the school. I've got them all marked off. Like what each room is for and like who uses each room and when. planning a school shooting. You want us to kill anybody for you, or?
Good luck with your shooting.
Don't tell anybody.
I won't.
All right. So when we first talked about getting you on the show, I asked what you would want to discuss, and you did give me a list of like some bona fide classics that you had missed, but then you had planted the seed about talking about a scrappy indie film of some sort. And I know so many people who have never seen this movie, so I threw this one out thinking, okay, if Josh hasn't seen this, he absolutely needs to. And if he has seen it, I guarantee he's got thoughts about it. And just based on our whole conversation that we had leading up to this, I feel like there's going to be a fantastic conversation involved with this. So first off, tell me about your history with the Dirties.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess I probably saw the Dirties because it was in the Kevin Smith movie club. Now, I say that, but I also think I might have I had seen stuff from Nirvana, the band, the show. And so I knew about at least the concept of Matt Johnson at the time.
The concept
But when I watched
of Matt Johnson. I love that.
But when I saw the Dirties, I was just like, I was blown away. Like the first time I was like, everyone watch this. I went to everyone I knew who's in film, and everyone I was like, you have to watch this. And I will say it was polarizing. Like it was either they absolutely adored it like I did, like I did, or they were like, that is the darkest. That is too much. I can't watch. Like it's not for me. Like I hate it.
No, absolutely. And like I remember I saw it for the first time back in 2015, and I remember I was living at the apartment that me and my now wife were sharing at the time. And I don't remember how it was put on my radar. It very well could have been because of the Kevin Smith Movie Club. He was probably hyping it in one of his podcasts. And I had wanted to see it. And I feel like there was a short period of time where it was on Netflix. And I think that might have been where I first saw it. And like you, I was kind of blown away by it because I also didn't 100% know what I was watching. It was one, I didn't realize Matt Johnson was in his 20s when he made that film.
Yeah.
Because he feels like a high school student. He looked like a high school student. And so here I thought this was just some kid in high school making a mockumentary with other high schoolers about a high school shooting. And that alone is kind of intriguing. But then once you find out more details about how they actually made this movie gets so much more intriguing.
Yeah, for me, I think like the biggest thing that pulled me in off the bat was just the fact that he lets you into the world of filmmaking in the movie. Like it's built into it. And one of my favorite types of film is, I'm not like the biggest found footage fan in the world, although I do like a lot of found footage movies. But I love a movie that teeters the line of being, I wouldn't even call it found footage because it's essentially who's making it, why it's being created, it exists for a reason. It's not found, it's being
crafted,
given to you, the audience. And so that's why like two of my favorite movies are Creep and the Dirties. And Creep I love because you're seeing a DV, like essentially a disc that the Creep character, the Mark Duplass character, he has made and is giving to you, and has like this beautiful jump scare at the end that it lets you in on the fact that like he knows you're watching it and you could be next. The Dirties does the same thing where it's like there are hints to the cameraman. There's a third person, but they're also filmmakers, so they know not to involve him too much.
But he does have a name, so he is a character.
Yeah, and he's editing. You see him in reflections. You know that the movie, because there's that part where Matt is like editing the movie, and he's like cutting in stuff, and he's like playing that really cheesy song, and then he's like, "That's too much, right? That's too much." And then he's like, "Hey, by the way, when you release this, you're gonna have to put these credits at the end, and you're gonna have to finish the whole thing, like when it's all done." So then when the movie ends, and you're like, "Oh, whoa, they finished it!" Like the dude did what he told him to do as the credits are rolling,
Yeah.
and you're just,
And it adds a whole nother
oh,
level to it because, like, the first time I saw something like this where I actively saw characters like editing the footage that we're watching was George Romero's Diary of the Dead, which I think is
yeah,
a very underrated film.
love it.
Um, but that aspect of it, because the hardest part about doing any sort of quote unquote found footage, we're just going to use that as the umbrella term, even though mockumentary is its own thing. But the hardest part about that is suspending your disbelief of why are they continuing to film, or if in this case, who's filming them. But when you know that they are actively making a movie,
Yep.
that changes that perspective quite a bit. And I also appreciate that they bake into the plot about the wireless mic, so that way you never question why they are why you can always hear them. And since they're always used to being in front of a camera, there's many times where they're probably just wearing the mics and not even realizing it. Like there's scenes where Ethan is by himself, like with other people. Sorry, Evan is with other people. No,
Yep.
not Evan. Owen. I keep getting their names wrong. Owen is with other people, but you can still hear him because he's still mic'd up because that's just what he's used to doing. But then knowing that Jared the cameraman is its own thing and that he has artistic license to end this film, theoretically, say this is a real event, stuff happened after we're jumping all around, but after that final moment of Matt saying to Owen, "What are you doing? It's me."
Yeah.
He has more footage. He chose to end it there.
Yeah.
And
He knew,
that's
and it's such a perfect ending where you're just like, that's it. And you don't get the answer of what exactly happened, but you
nope.
get enough to be like, this is where we're at. This is, and like, oh yeah, it's so good. But he got the footage. He got the GoPro footage that they hung up, the cameras that they hung up. So he did, something happened that allowed him to get that. It's enough to allow your imagination to think about what happened in the in the realm of the world that they've created, while also knowing like it's not real, but also going just like, oh, I lived this moment with these characters, and I know they've said in interviews like a million times that it was very much about them seeing those interviews with the Columbine kids
Mm-hmm.
before that footage, and then being like, well, yes, what they did is awful, but at the same time, like I kind of probably would know those kids, and
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of terrifying. So let's make something about that. I think some of the best movies are from people who, uh, you know, find something that scares them in not in a like boogeyman sort of way, in a like truly terrifying way. So that's one of the things I love about the Dirties is it is like both hilarious
Mm-hmm.
and terrifying, and like one of the most sincerely human movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, and what I like about it, and I noticed more on this watching than I did back in 2015 when I first saw it, was Matt Johnson is not concerned about whether or not you like his character.
Oh, it's my favorite movies. I hate a movie that forces you to like someone through the like pure save the cat moment. You're a good guy. Okay, this is my guy that I'm following.
Yeah.
I made a movie called Greywood's Plot that one of the first scenes, either you will continue to watch the movie or you will not like me as a person and as a whatever. And my point of the moment was to show you that I'm not a good guy, because you're about to go through a whole path. I was in it. I star in the movie, and you're about to go down this path with me. But so many people are like, I don't like him. I hate him. There's this awful moment. He's a racist. Blah blah blah. And when you see it, you'll be like, well, they call it out as it's a joke. Like whatever, doesn't matter. But it's just very funny to see. Like some people need you to hold. They want their hand held as to who is the good guy and who is not. But Matt does an amazing job in this movie of just being like, I don't care. I'm the bad guy, and I hope you like me, but I don't really care if you like me.
Yeah, but there's also like, cuz I one of the scenes that sticks out to me is when they're showing like when they stole footage of one of the girls in their class, which I think is just admittedly a really funny scene because how poorly it cuts together.
Yeah,
But
they
then
do the
just
like, yeah,
but then just casually in the background, he's in blackface
Yep.
because he's a young, naive Canadian white kid who does not realize that that is not cool.
right.
And it's just so over his head. And I think Matt Johnson has talked about this in interviews where he said, I don't shy away from showing how stupid I was as a teenager who would have thought that was hysterical.
Right.
But yet there's still something compelling about it because there's this sense of there's a constant tension between our two lead characters of Owen and Matt, where Owen, like I said in my intro, is just he's hanging out with his best friend. That's the way he views this. This is what they always do. They just go and make movies. But then Matt becomes just intrinsically more obsessed and concerned. Maybe not concerned, but more obsessed with this notion of doing this for real. And Owen either chooses not to believe him or doesn't believe him. But then that whole obsession and the concept of ethical and non-ethical lying kind of ties back into how they made this film, and it just becomes a really interesting stew.
Yeah, man, and here, like, I've seen this movie like literally hundreds of times. I watch it I'm one of those people who watches movies I like over and over and over and over again. And The Dirties is one that I go through like this obsessive phase with every once in a while. And the thing that I really like notice is the whole straw that broke the camel's back is when Owen gets bullied. Like
Mhm.
Matt's whole reason for it isn't that Matt got bullied. He got bullied for his whole life. He barely like really cared about it. But until the rock hits Owen and he like
Yeah.
it finally takes off, he's like, no, no one's gonna mess with my friend. And I've thought about this a lot over the years of like Owen knows that Matt is down to do it. I don't think that it's even a question. I don't think he's even naive. I think Owen deep down is like, this man is so passionate. He'll do whatever he sets his mind to. And he purposely has to like push himself away to try to disconnect because he knows he's never going to convince him of anything different. And he just kind of hopes that he's wrong and detaches himself into a different direction. And obviously, when he sees him, that's when he's like, that it's me. He's just like, you see on Owen's face, he's scared, but he's like, wow, man, like, I don't even know what to do at this point because you did the thing I knew you were going to do. And he's just like there in the room with him. And I think that that is like, it's dark, but it's such a movie about like friends in the
No,
weirdest way.
It is a movie about platonic male friendship. And that's just a topic that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Not to promote myself, but that's what I'm here to do. I just recently wrote a article for a magazine called The Physical Media Advocate, and by the time this episode comes out, it should already be on newsstands. Where I wrote an article about how Jackass helped a generation of young men shed their toxic masculinity, tendencies. And you look at something like The Dirties, and there's a direct connection between The Dirties and say something like Kevin Smith's Clerks, where Dante and Randall in Clerks butt heads, but they're best friends who love each other. And they're two guys who are probably too afraid to admit that they love each other. They do in the 2 and 3, but like in that original film, they're both young men who don't know how to process their feelings, but know they have feelings for each other in as friends. And Matt and Owen are the same way. And a lot of Matt's jealousy comes from the fact that Owen is showing interest in someone else that's not him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a really interesting portrait of two sides of friendship. No, I think this is just an incredibly interesting film. And then like we haven't even touched on the making of this film and just
Yeah.
kind of the Matt Johnson oeuvre. So for those of you who have not seen the Dirties, one, why the fuck are you listening to this episode? But then two, Matt Johnson has had a really interesting career of, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this, almost making films on the fly and stealing a lot of locations and shots and getting just enough permission to do things. Famously on this movie Operation Avalanche, he told NASA that they were shooting a documentary and asked if they can come down, and NASA gave them full access, and they shot a movie without NASA knowing. And so with the Dirties, the story that I had always been told when I first heard about the Dirties is that Matt and Owen enrolled themselves in a school and pretended to be students and made this movie while pretending to be students. That was the story that I was originally heard. From what I've come to put together is that there is some truth in that. The story that I was told is that they told the school that, hey, we want to come down and shoot some stuff. The school gave them permission. They didn't tell the school what they were shooting. None of this, and they didn't tell any of the students. They just brought themselves in and a couple other actors. Like I think some of the bullies are actors, and they're just getting people's legitimate reactions to stuff that they are staging. It's kind of a Blair Witch thing in that way. That's kind of how Blair Witch Project came to be. And I wanted to get your opinion as an independent filmmaker, your thought process on this style of making films.
So, I mean, number one thing you really have to take into consideration is that they're Canadian.
Yes.
That's a huge piece of it.
And Matt mentions that a lot in interviews, that things that fly in Canada won't fly everywhere else.
Yes, there's a lot of, especially, I don't know if you've ever seen the video about him talking about the lawyer that he has.
Yes. I've seen a couple videos where he talks about his lawyer. I think it was the same lawyer that worked on what was that film that shot illegally at Disneyland?
Yes, it is that same
Escape
person.
from Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Yes.
World. Yeah. Yes. So, but he goes into like a whole, what is that called? Where you can use
fair use.
Fair use. He goes into a whole fair use conversation in this YouTube video he did with what is it? Jay McCarroll. The two of them did an interview for Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, and it's really fascinating. But they have there's things you can do in Canada that you can't do in the US, or you have to have a very good lawyer to get away with it. Has to be necessary for the plot and all this other stuff. Now, that being said, I love this style of filmmaking of like run and gunning. So I did a lot of this in my new movie, Get That Dick. Now it's not a found footage or whatever, but there was a lot of moments where me and the lead actor would just go out somewhere and film, like at random parks, we have a whole scene where he's throwing a rock at a homeless person. That's not the term we're supposed to use anymore, but whatever. An unhoused person. And he's chucking rocks at him and the guy's chucking them back. And then they have this whole argument. And we just filmed that. We just went to a park, filmed. People drove by watching, and I'd be like, hi, guys, we're just doing a thing for college. 40 years old, I'm still acting like I'm in college to get away with it. It's just a student film. I'm doing the same thing, like legitimately. And then we have my favorite story is I wanted a scene of the detective buying liquor. And so I just had my actor go into a liquor store, a package shop or whatever they call them here in the South. And he went into Hal's Package. I just made sure I didn't film the sign completely. And yeah, that's what they're called in the South. I'm from Minnesota, so I don't.
I'm from Wisconsin, so that's weird for me too.
Dude, we're liquor store folk. Like
yeah.
You would so
we buy liquor and we drink soda.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly right. He went in and he's wearing the full costume and whatever. And I got on the hood of my car with my camera and started filming, and he was waiting in line with his bottle of liquor, and all of a sudden, like, everyone started going to the window because they saw me, and they're like, what's that guy doing out there? There's a kid filming you. He's sitting on his car. And this dude in the back of the line turns to my friend and goes, it's his buddy, and everyone just like swarmed at him. I don't see any of this. I'm on the hood of the car filming, and
Oh
all I see
god.
is him come walking out the door like he's in character and he's looking like a badass. And he takes a hit of his vape and he's blowing smoke out the whole time. And he gets to the car, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, got the shot." He's like, "We got to get out of here." I'm like, "Ah, yeah, I'm gonna go in and get us some beer or whatever." He's like, "No, we have to go. You're busted." And they're like calling the cops on us right now. And we took off. So I'm a fan of run and gun, do
Yeah.
what you can filmmaking. Here's the thing, if you can't afford it. If
Yeah.
you can afford to rent the place, pay everyone. I think there's no reason not to, but I'm
Yeah.
making movies for like $7,000 still to this day. And so I have to
No,
do what I have to do. And I just live by that mentality of until someone gives me money.
well, and then there's something also to be said. So I've listened to a lot of interviews with Matt Johnson recently, and the man is captivating to listen to. And he was talking about the whole concept of fair use. And I think he even says in one of his interviews that if you are filming as soon as you film someone, you have the right to that footage, as long as you are not depicting them in any negative light or making them do something that's out of character or whatnot. That they still file that under fair use. It seems a little shady. Not necessarily that he did it, but it seems like a shady law in general.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how he's like, there's too many filmmakers, and he's like, it's one thing when you're like Christopher Nolan or whoever the fuck, when you can do whatever you want. But he's like, there's too many young filmmakers who are so inundated with this is how you do things and this is the way to do things. Oh, you can't have all those posters on your wall because you don't have the rights for it. And he's like, and it's honestly it's stifling people's creativity. He's like, the best thing I could have done when I got into filmmaking was, making Nirvana the band, the show, and the Dirties. Is I didn't know about any of that. And he's like,
Yeah.
ignorance was bliss. And his biggest piece of advice that he gave people, especially young filmmakers, is don't worry about any of that. He's like, if you make a movie that people want to purchase and put out, they'll figure out the legal side of shit.
Right.
Don't let the legal side of shit stop you from what you're doing. I have mixed feelings on that advice, but I think there's something to that of not letting the right way stop you from being creative. And that's something in my own work that I've tried to get back to. I went to an art film school, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. It is one of the top 25 experimental film schools in the world. So I learned a lot about experimental film, but then we got to a certain point where everyone was trying to learn the Hollywood method, and I get it because that's how you're going to get jobs. And we're in this weird space where there's like, we have no money, but then people are still like, well, we need to have a script supervisor, we need to have a gaffer, and like, well, why? Let's just go out and shoot something. And I've been trying to get myself back into that mentality, and watching things like this movie is inspiring. And sorry, I've been talking for a little bit. I want to get back to the concept of how they shot this. Like Matt talks about in interviews that they would go in, pose as students, and pretty much shoot as much as they can until they got kicked out of a specific school and then went to a different one. And there's also this sense of excitement that, for the most part, I have to take what he says as gospel, because who else is going to testify about what happened on this movie? And
Absolutely. Like, and yes. And I was just going to say, I had like a thought from what you said of, I think you hit a really important point when you were talking about this modern, I think because everything is so accessible through YouTube, everyone sees how movies are made now. You don't even have to hunt down like behind the scenes. It's just common knowledge the way things are done in Hollywood, that everyone's terrified of doing it any other way. And this just popped into my head that because you said you were in Milwaukee. My favorite movie of all time, number one, is American Movie.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, of course. It's number one movie of all time. And I'm not saying that ironically. I mean, like literally, I got
That
I got Mark.
Oh, you
Mark's
got the copy of Coven? Yeah, Mark
dude.
hangs around town all the time. The school the school that he's editing his film in is the school I went to. That editing room
Nice.
looks exactly the same. That's the same room I cut my own films in. So
Yes.
if you ever come to
So
Milwaukee, I'll give you a tour.
Yeah, I watch American Movie every Friday. It's just like a tradition. I do it every single Friday. It's
Yeah.
just the movie that inspires me more than anything, because Mark is so just willing to talk about it, whether he, had success or whatever, it's irrelevant to the fact that like his passion for filmmaking and for movies is like contagious to me.
Mhm.
And every time I hear him, it makes me just want to go film something. And so I say all that because I think you're right. I think that people right now are living in a time where they just are afraid to try this kind of stuff. And I'm 40 years old. I should be past it, but I'm absolutely not. I'm still like, this weekend I'm filming a movie with my kids in the woods in my backyard. We're doing a short film about just an alien thing. We're doing like I got bought an alien costume and I'm putting myself naked in an alien costume. I'll be in
What?
underwear. My kids won't have to see me naked, but I wanted to take that scene where ET is dead in the river
Mhm.
and do like, what if two kids found like they weren't ET wasn't their like companion. It was just like some random alien dude dead in their backyard, all white and pale and freaky looking. What would those kids do to that alien? So it's
That's
like
probably
it's
not a good
basically like
answer.
Stand By Me. Like you want to see it. It's like a dead body situation, but an alien.
That honestly, that sounds incredible. Like as we talk, it's like I just want to see every movie you've as you do such a
Watch
good job.
Greywood's Plot. Greywood's Plot's my favorite thing I've ever done, and you will either hate it or love it. But it's black and white, very strange, very like inspired by. It's like a mixture of. I wrote the movie, a script, like an idea, and then Kevin Smith did Tusk, and I was like, he did the thing before I did the thing I wanted to do. And when you see it originally, I basically wanted to make a movie where a guy turns another guy into a Spider-Man. That was the original idea. I was like, literally, I was just like, what would Spider-Man look like if it was like a real dude that was all nasty and made by like a Dr. Frankenstein style
Yeah,
guy?
that sounds
And then
very much up my alley.
Kevin did Tusk, and I was like, I got to make a Dogman movie now. So I did a Dogman movie. That's spoiler alert. I get turned into a Dogman. Now go watch the movie if that makes you interested at all. It's my take on Island of Dr. Moreau. No budget. We made it for $2,000.
I hope you sent Kevin a very strongly worded email.
No, I worked on Tusk.
I know you
I
did.
worked on it, and I was just like, and then I watched it, and I'm like, well, it's very close to what my concept had been, but there was things in Tusk that I was like, Kevin would always do these Q&As and talks, and he'd be like, if you don't like something I made, go make it. Go make your thing. If you can do better, go make it better. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can do better, but I have something else to say in this world of people turning people into messed up things, the human centipede mentality. So I went and made my movie Greywood's Plot, and it's weird and very personal to me. So
Well, I think you're touching on something rather interesting, and it's kind of a tangent away from the Dirties, but I think it still relates. In that,
when you watch the Dirties, if you watch the Dirties and Greywood's Plot back to back, you will also be like, this guy likes the Dirties a lot, because it is like that friendship thing you were talking
yeah,
about like. I always say the original script. I don't know if I had seen the Dirties when I wrote the original concept, but my whole idea was like everyone makes the bromance was really popular. Like fucking every Judd Apatow movie was like a bromance in some way. And I was like, I want to make a movie about the divorce of friendship. And so
mm.
that's what it is. It's about two friends
Oh,
who get divorced.
that's fascinating. But no, I wanted to comment on something you were kind of touching on. So there was turning dudes into something they're not supposed to be was apparently in the cultural zeitgeist at the time. You made Kevin Smith made Tusk. You made Greywood's Plot, and what I think is another important lesson here is if you spend enough time, like I'm deeply steeped in film culture. I write a lot about film. I podcast about film. I spend a lot of time looking at people's shitty film takes, and usually the biggest one you see is if a movie reminds someone of anything else, they're like, well, this is just a ripoff. Like when Sinners came out, people were like, this is just a ripoff of From Dusk Till Dawn. People need to stop being concerned about whether or not something they're making is a ripoff of something else or an homage, lightly inspired by anything. Just fucking make the thing you want to do, because like you said, Kevin Smith has made Tusk, and Tusk is actually one of my favorite movies that he's done because it's so different. But like you're like, okay, this movie's great. I worked on this movie, but I have something different that I want to do with it. And you should always chase that whimsy. It doesn't matter, how many people have made a Stepford Wives type movie. Doesn't mean you can't do another one. Just find what you want to say with the material. And tying it back into the Dirties, I kind of feel that's what Matt Johnson did. He had seen, other quote-unquote bromance movies, something like Clerks or the Apatow films that were probably coming out at the time. And he'd probably seen a lot of coming-of-age films, and is like, well, how can I take these things and do something different with it? It's also it's not one of the only ones, but it's one of the few that come to mind of a mockumentary / found footage film that's not a horror movie. Like, it's horrific, but it's not a horror movie.
Or straight up comedy. It's like, it's more of a drama than anything, like a true life moment versus like, because to me, when I watch it, I feel almost more like I'm watching not necessarily like a Mighty Wind or something like that, but like it feels.
But there is some connective tissue there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's like, we're watching a real people doing real things, not just. And there's, they're talking to the camera. There's like an element of actual documentary to it, even if sometimes it's things we're not supposed to be seeing. Where like that's some of my favorite stuff in the like Best in Show, Spinal Tap, all the comedies, is this like element of sometimes you're seeing things where you're like, that should have been edited out of the documentary, but that's why it's so funny.
Well, then this movie also plays with that as well. Like, I love any time that the Dirties makes us painfully aware of the filmmaking process. There's one of my a scene that I really enjoy is when Matt is trying to get Owen to come down after he got hit with that rock, and Owen's talking to Matt, and you can't hear what he's saying. He's like, put the mic on. And it's like, they're making us painfully aware that they're making a film, but it's with such great effect. Or like I said, that the scene where Matt is editing those really amusing end titles for the film, and like you're watching a Back to the Future, it's the Goonies, it's Indiana Jones, all these things. And when he tells Jared, like, well, you have to add these in, there are these really silly titles that he's painstakingly working on. But there's also this, especially when you watch it more than one time, there's this level of sadness. It's like, oh, he pretty much knows he's not making it out of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yet he's still taking the time because he's this is a movie about passion as well.
I love this. Is not. I mean, it is absolutely. Yeah. And one of my favorite things about it is how the movie opens with that, or like one of the first scenes is where Matt is talking to those kids about getting the mics. He's talking to those two kids, and you're just like, he's a high school kid who thinks he's so cool talking to these kids about filmmaking, but he's also such a dork about it. You're like, that's me, man. That's me all the time. I love it. But there's that moment where he's talking to Owen, and they're on that like cliff, and he's like, Owen, but you got to listen, man, because it's like, and then what if I fell? What if I fell down the hill right here? What if I just like, and you see me topple? And Owen's like, dude, we're having a serious conversation. And you see the filmmaker brain working. I'm like, that's literally how my brain works. That's why that drives my wife crazy, because I'm constantly like, we're in the middle of a deep conversation or talking about something important, and I'll make some awful joke where I'm like, yeah, but if this was a movie, and she's like,
yeah, or you start shot listing things like, okay, if we do a slow pushing on this, right? No, it's this way I talk. And when I was watching this movie as well, rewatched it just yesterday, maybe the day before, and I was sitting there like, not to the point that I wasn't bullied the way that Matt was and all that, but I was like, I am this person. I was this
Yeah.
person. And so it was also just kind of hard to watch in that way, but not in like a cringe way. Just it's like, oh, I see a lot of myself of this character, and it's interesting. It's just interesting in that
You
way.
you know what scene I love too is that part which I didn't know that it was his actual mom, but that scene where he's talking to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's talking about Catcher in the Rye. Is that right?
Well, he asks his mom, is like, do I seem crazy to you?
Yeah.
And then yeah, he does bring up Catcher in the Rye, and his
He
mom's like,
just bring yeah, but he's like, but he's asking her like, "Am I like he's trying to figure out, wow, is what I'm about to do out of the blue?" He's like trying to basically have his mom convince him to not do it, and everything she says basically leads him
yeah.
to do it. And rewatching it, I'm like, he raw dog that
Oh
conversation
yeah,
with
his
his
mom
mom.
didn't know
He
they were
just
on camera, and
no, and you
he talks a lot about that in interviews where he said he actually hates working with actors, because he said there's more often than not. He has this really long speech, and I can send you the video if you're interested. It was from a Q&A in Ireland, and he's talking about, it's like, one of the greatest superpowers that every human has is you can tell when someone's a human, and it's also, you can also tell when someone is real and when someone is acting. And he's like, if you don't realize you're on camera, you can give an award-winning performance being yourself.
Mhm.
So he said his goal for so much of this movie was actually very similar to what he did in the Dirties to get his classmate to say specific lines, is that he just films people without them knowing and tells them about it afterwards and just tries to get something out of them. So he's like, if I would have told my mom that we're doing this scene and had her, here's the lines you got to learn, she's like, she would have been god awful. But she's like, because she didn't know she was in the scene with me, she gives it a wonderful, nuanced performance.
I love that. That's so awesome. And so, I mean, it's true of a lot of I edit my own movies, and there's a lot of times where I'll just get the takes in between the takes. Like it most of the time, not most of the time, but I would say there is a good chunk of time where the best performance I get out of someone is where I'm like, "Hey man, I'm not going to roll on this one. Just let me see what you're going to kind of do." And that's the best take.
And then you were end up
Because
rolling on it anyways.
yeah, I'm always rolling.
Yeah,
Like
of course.
we're digital era. I can roll
Yeah.
on everything. I'm rolling right now. Like I'm always rolling. So it's just one of those things where you you learn quickly that that's absolutely true, especially with there's actors who give performances where you're just like, okay, that's not them. That's something brand new. I love it. That's amazing. But there are so many people when you're making indie films where if you can just trick them into like being natural, that's how you get it. Like my 13-year-old is in my new movie and he's very talented, very good at learning lines, very good at delivering them. But there are a lot of times where I would just be like, just try something different and don't act. Just like, I'm not going to roll. Let's
Just
see what
react
happens.
to it. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the best performance I got out of him. Or like in Greywood's plot, half of those lines that are funny are things that didn't they weren't even meant to be in the movie. Like the best jokes in that movie were us just being stupid friends together, and it was a between the take thing, and it gets the biggest laugh, or it's one of the best moments. I mean, I learned that about myself. I'm in Little Lucha and the Big Deal. Scarlett and I co-directed and co-starred in it. That's the whole reason we made the movie. Was I was like, I want to learn how to act, just so when I'm directing people, I can have an understanding of acting. And I wrote it long before I was in Greywood's plot or did anything else. And when I got on set, I quickly learned that the only way that I can act, because I'm not an actor, I can't memorize lines, I'm not that person, is to just be the person. Don't deliver the lines. Figure out what I'm trying to get out of someone and do that thing. And so the second I had to act and like Scarlett wasn't in front of me and I wasn't just acting with Scarlett, I couldn't do it. I couldn't even get lines out. But when I would just be like, screw it, let's just play here, then it was great. And people love the performance. And it's just like, okay, I was just being me basically and knowing like I wanted to make Scarlett laugh. And then that would make we talk about there's a video going up on my YouTube channel this week that is all about this concept. So if you want to hear more about how I learned to act with Scarlett, and who's a talented actress, she's awesome. this is what we talk about in the new YouTube video.
Yeah. And then if anyone out there listening to this, if you don't already own it, Umbrella Films put out a new Blu-ray for the Dirties, and on there there's like a treasure trove of stuff. Like it's to see Matt and Owen just shooting this film. They have so many scenes of like you can see how the scene evolved because like I said at the beginning of the film, this movie didn't have a script. Matt and Owen aren't out there memorizing lines. For those of you who are not aware, the film The Blair Witch Project was filmed in a very similar way. Essentially what the directors did was they sent their actors out there with cameras, they're shooting their own stuff, and just sent them out into the woods. And every so often, there'd be checkpoints where they would all get a little note from the directors that told them, here's what's happening in the story. You're mad at this character. And then someone else's note wouldn't say anything about someone being mad at them. So they just had to react to what other people were giving them in different motivations. And that's essentially what they're doing in this film. They know the story they're trying to tell, but how they get there is a very organic process. And the idea of trying to shoot something this organic in locations they don't really have permission to be using. They did for the finale. They rented out a school for a day so they could shoot that final scene. But they're just kind of sneaking actors into schools and just doing things. The fact that this movie came out as coherent and as interesting and as nuanced as it is a feat. And if anyone out there is like, oh, this doesn't seem that hard, you try to do it. Yeah. I've noticed that people who don't have a lot of respect for found footage or mockumentary style films until they've had to try to make one. And they see it's actually more difficult than a traditional film.
Absolutely. The whole mumblecore era of film that made it look so easy and so many filmmakers tried to do. There's a reason why there are only like a handful of memorable movies in that era. There were thousands of attempts and most of them are awful or didn't ever get finished because it is not as easy as it sounds.
No.
Trust me. That's how Greywood's plot started. I went out going like, let's make a mumble. Let's do our puffy couch or whatever, puffy chair or whatever, and do our like, mumblecore thing. And we just had a scriptment, a concept. We tried and we failed miserably. It was awful. Like it was terrible. And then I wrote a script based on what we have. And there's still shots from that are in the movie. But I realized quickly, like it is so much more work than people think. You think that comes natural, but it absolutely doesn't. The second you start rolling that camera, it's like, wait, what are we doing? How, who, what? I'm not like, it's just not natural.
Absolutely. So as we start winding down in the episode, I wanted to see, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure we highlight with the Dirties, Matt Johnson's career, anything before we move
go
on?
Watch Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. It's so good. And honestly, all of the Matt Johnson movies, Blackberry is
Blackberry is phenomenal.
So good, dude.
And the fact that Avalanche, Blackberry is really interesting because he's starting to bridge. So the Dirties and Operation Project Avalanche, Operation Avalanche, thank you. Operation Avalanche were done in a very similar style. Nirvana the band, the show, was done in that same style. Blackberry, the movie is kind of a mixture of those two styles. There's a lot of improv. There's a lot of that, but it had a script. It had a narrative propulsion.
It's a legit movie. It's a legit movie, and it's like the really cool thing about the movie is the fact that it's like, I love this idea that it's like it's like an Oscar style real biopic concept, but then it's about something so stupid to me. Like I'm just like, the Blackberry, like who cares? But it is such a riveting story in the way that they did it. It's and what's his name, Glenn Howerton or whatever, that dude. That final, do you know the, like, he's got that line where he's just like, what's the line, where the vampires hang out, it's like an actual it's like a real clip of a guy that they stole. The
Yep.
like,
Yep,
yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and it's a wild movie,
What?
and it's a much better movie than probably people are expecting. I've not seen Nirvana the band, the show, the movie yet. I got a copy, and
Oh,
I just haven't
so good,
watched it.
dude. You gotta go see it. You gotta
Um,
see it. It's so funny.
but and then it should be right.
Waterloo. I'm from Waterloo, where the vampires hang out. Oh,
Yeah.
so
And then his next film is Tony is a movie about the early days of Anthony Bourdain, and it'll be interesting to see how much of the Matt Johnson style is in there, how much of this is a more traditional film. Because kid's got I say kid, he's older than me, but he's got the chops that he can do either one. Um, yeah, I just I'm a big fan of his work, and I get excited to just see him getting more recognition. Like I said, I think I said at the beginning of the show, I have a short list of like holy grail people I want on this show. Kevin Smith is one of them. Leonard Maltin is one of them.
nah,
I got a Leonard Maltin tattoo right here.
dude, that's amazing.
And Matt Johnson's also one of them. I just think he's an endlessly fascinating person, and highly recommend if you listen to this entire episode, go and you haven't watched the Dirties. One, thank you for supporting my show, no matter whether or not you've seen the movie or not. That's wonderful, but go see the fucking movie. It is. I can't. It might not be for everyone. I think the tonal shifts might affect some people. Or you might not even like the guy. You might not like hanging out with these characters as much as I do, but it's a fascinating movie. And then, like as I said, once you really dig into the how and why they made this film, it just becomes so much more interesting.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I recommend it to everyone. It's in my top 10 favorite movies list. And I'm not saying that just because I'm on the show. Like this all came
Oh, I
up
can
because
guarantee he told me that in an email as well.
yeah, he reached out to me, said it, and I was just like, dude, I'm watching it right now. Like I probably was like just about to put it on. I'm obsessed with the movie. I think it's so fantastic. And I feel like anyone who's listening to this, anyone who's into filmmaking, anyone who is digging into films, that this movie's for you. You'll love it.
Yeah. Honestly, one of my biggest one of the things I'm most upset about is that I did not pick up a copy of The Dirties on DVD back when Matt Johnson was selling it on his website, and he
Yeah.
had variant covers like the Rosemary's Baby cover or the Memento cover. I just didn't have much money at the time, and I'm glad I own the movie now on a nice new Blu-ray, but God, I wish I would have purchased one of those DVDs.
Absolutely. I didn't get one either. And I didn't get one, I think, because it was like right at the end of the DVD era. And I was just like, I don't know if I'll ever watch it on there, and had no idea. You don't know that you love a movie as much as you do right away necessarily.
Yeah.
Like you watch it and you're like, I enjoy it. It's great. I'm going to watch it again. And then you watch it again, and then you watch it again. And then pretty soon it's like 5 years later and you're like, oh, I'm obsessed with this damn movie.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. All right, so it's customary on this show, and as a Simpsons fan, you get the reference. We do what we call the Thrill House moment. It's the moment that kind of knocks your hair back and kind of locks you into the film. Obviously, you are a huge fan of this film, so I do not expect you to remember your original Thrill House moment, but if you do, that would be awesome. But what would your Thrill House moment be for this movie?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say like the initial idea that comes into my head is that when I watch a movie, it's very rare that there's like a moment that grabs me. It's got to all come together. Like I'm like a person who like I zone out and I just become enthralled by a movie.
Mhm.
So the way that the very last line of that movie was the moment where I was like masterpiece.
It changes
There.
the movie. So I need to ask, what do you think happened after the camera cut?
I brought this up a little bit earlier, but we get that GoPro footage and we get everything. So I feel like the Jared came in and got everything. Like I believe that he was connected to everything happening,
Yeah.
and he did it. He was like complacent, just like in hiding, ready to go. And Matt got taken out.
Well, my
Matt
question is, did Owen get added to the list of the dirties? Because
in what sense?
there is a scene where Matt is contemplating everything that happened with Owen. You see him scribbling in his notebook.
Yes, right.
Did he kill Owen, or did
I
he
don't
let
believe
Owen
so.
live? I don't
I
believe
don't
so
believe he
either,
did, but
we
here's
don't
I
know.
say this from a place of being very relating to him very strongly, and I, like relating to both of those characters a lot, and being like, I believe in that moment. You talked about that, like, bro love. These two guys love each other even if they don't know it, or if they'd never really say it. I believe the two of them were just like, I did the thing for you, and it's just like, what, I can't even tell you. I have no idea what happened to them, but Matt does not have it in him to do that. I just this is my impression of it. I believe he loves Owen that much that he's just like, he never actually added him to the list. He did the classic, like, added him, wrote him down, but he's just like, that's his best friend. There's no way.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, my thrill house moment for this movie. So once again, when I first saw this movie, I didn't know much about the story. I didn't know much about the history. And when you start watching it, you're like, well, clearly this is a movie made by high schoolers just fucking around, because it doesn't have the feel of a professionally produced mockumentary like a Spinal Tap or something, where you're like, oh, clearly I'm watching a movie that's trying to pretend to be something else. I really felt like, oh, these are high school students, sure. Oh, they're trying to make a movie, but then the first time that Matt gets just decimated in the fucking hallway and tripped and bullied, and then the tone just changes from that moment, because it's a really unflinching view of this kid getting harassed and beat up in the hallway. And once again, like I said, it's kind of like the first time I saw the Blair Witch Project. You're like, is this real? Is this not real? What's going on here? And so I was like, well, that was really intense. And like I said, not knowing anything about the movie really sold that moment for me. And then I was on the entire journey.
You want to know what? Okay, I got to go back because you actually reminded me of when it just all came flooding back to me. And I know the exact moment where I was just like, well, I'm finishing this movie. Like, I can't not, like, this is a train wreck and I have to keep watching. Was the scene where they film, or after they film with their teacher, and then they show the video to their teacher, and he's like, cocksucker motherfucker, and he's like yelling at the teacher. And I was just like, why would you show that to your teacher? Like I felt so much cringe that I couldn't look
Yes.
away. And I was like, there was just something, like, all of the cringe that had happened before that. I was like, that's just high school kids. Like, I understand.
But like they're so warped. They thought we could show this to our teacher. He'd get it.
But they had filmed with the teacher and didn't do those lines because they knew better. And it just instantly made me feel like these are real children. Like, this is something that stupid kids do, where they're like, well, we've already made the thing. The teacher can't stop us from showing it. Where I'm like,
well, it all goes back to, once again, how Matt shot this movie. So then it adds that element into it. It's like, it's hard to watch when we are witnessing it in a faked sense, but that is effectively how he made this movie.
Right. And you're just going, and when you see that moment, and you're like, why the teacher isn't going to let him show it. Obviously, this is over the top. Like, this is terrible. And now he's making him edit it. You're like, well, something terrible is going to happen. They're setting us up. This is foreshadowing for the entire movie. And I cannot look away. Yeah. I have locked in to the Bone Storm. Like, I am here and there is no turning back.
Locked into the Bone Storm. Fantastic. Hey man, this has been a great time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It is fun, and I'm glad we were able to figure out a movie, because at first I'm like, dude, I'm such a movie nerd. I don't even know what I would be like, what would be a good topic. But this was a great topic.
Yeah, and I'm sure
I got to talk about American movie inside of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
My wife would be like, dude, you'll find a way to talk about American movie with
Well,
grandma.
I'm from Wisconsin. There is a very logical built-in way to bring that up.
Yeah,
and then, like I said, you ever come up to Wisconsin, I'll take you on a tour of the college from that.
Oh, I would love, dude, legitimately, I would ask my wife, I would be like in. And I went to school in Eau Claire. Like I went to high school in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So
Oh
I like
shit.
know. Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I did 4 years in a private high school in Eau Claire. That's one of the reasons American movie is so tight to me is I'm like I see that setting and I'm just like
You get it.
this is where I grew up.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely make sure we get you on again in the near future. But if people want to keep up with you or Flush Studios, where can people find you online?
Yeah, man. So you could find me all over the place if you just search for me, but you could see my movies are on my YouTube channel. Flush Studios is the name of the YouTube channel. And I've started doing a ton there. I'm posting weekly. I'm really like loving YouTube because I can post behind the scenes, interviews with my friends, and kind of become I was talking to my buddy Daniel. He's the star of The Good Exorcist and Greywood's plot. And I've known him since kindergarten. We're lived our whole lives together. He is the Owen to my Matt Johnson, I guess. But like I was talking to him and I'm like, at a certain point, I stopped being like just wanting to be like the young, like an indie filmmaker, whatever. And I become the weird uncle who's done everything, who has a story, and is just like, you kids are making back rooms and obsessions. I was making shitty indie films before you were getting boners and scared and knowing what was happening. Like that's who I'm becoming at this point. So I'm just like loving the YouTube and being able to put stuff up. But I also do a podcast called Low Budget Rebels where I sit down and talk to indie filmmakers about making movies with nothing. So low budget filmmakers come on and we talk about this exact kind of stuff and the raw filmmaking that has to happen in order to get started and just doing the thing. So if you're interested in independent filmmaking, check out Low Budget Rebels podcast, joshstifter.com, all the other things.
Perfect. And at this point, everyone should know where to find me. I'm Vyers102008 on Letterboxd. You can find me at either Michael_Vyers or Shameless Picture Show on all forms of social media. I do post pretty regular physical media reviews where I talk about aspect ratios more than anyone else in those reviews. I'm really passionate about proper aspect ratios on my physical media. Yeah, we appreciate Josh coming on the show, and we hope you come back next time. Shame time, shame place, Shameless Picture Show.
The Shameless Picture Show is a proud member of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network. The show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and is hosted and produced by Michael Vyers. The show was created by Nicholas Richards and Michael Vyers, and the show is edited by Austin Proctor of the Frightmares podcast. Amanda Vyers is the show's graphic designer and a big help behind the scenes. Our theme music was written specifically for us by Austin Proctor, with narration by yours truly, Nick Richards. The end credit music you're currently enjoying was generously provided to us by the band 10 Speed. An extra special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and our generous sponsors. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. For more information, be sure to check out someone'sfavoriteproductions.com.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description